Welcome to the Voices of ALERES podcast, your inside look at the people, strategies, and market forces driving Century 21 Leading Edge and Century 21 Atria. Each episode, your hosts Paul Barron, Tasis Giannoukakis, and Stephen Chow will break down the market, provide unique insights on the industry, and discuss the strategies they have utilized to create one of the largest and most successful real estate groups in Canadian history. This is the Voices of ALERES.
Well, welcome everybody. Wanted to start off the podcast today just talking a little bit about the Compass merger with Anywhere. What do you make of it, Tasis?
Yeah, I think obviously it was big news, and this makes Compass, or I guess the combined companies, the largest in the world, right? And I think it's another sign of what's going on, like just mergers and acquisitions and needing to be of a large size in order to compete. So yeah, I think we're going to get a lot of benefits from the background of Compass. Now, of course, Century 21 in Canada is a totally individual company. So this has nothing to do with Compass buying Century 21 Canada, just to be clear on that. So Century 21 Canada is its own company, and they have the rights to utilize that brand in Canada. But I do think some of what they're doing in terms of technology and scope in the real estate field will trickle up to us, right? So I am looking forward to that.
Right. How about yourself, Stephen? I know that Century 21, I guess, has a milestone this year, and tell us a little bit about that and what you think of the merger.
Well, I think it's amazing for Century 21 International, and especially trickling down to Century 21 Canada, as it is the 50th anniversary of Century 21 Canada from Gary Charwood started the company back in Vancouver in 1976. And last week when we were at Chairman's Circle to celebrate the top 30 owners of their success in 2025, Mr. Gary was saying that he talked to the CEO of Compass, Robert Refkin, and they assured us Canadians that Century 21 Canada will not be merging into a Compass. I think that was a lot of questions that when Compass bought out Anywhere, they took under many different brands such as Coldwell Banker, Sotheby's, Century 21, Better Homes and Garden. Would it merge all these brands into Compass? And one thing that we've heard last week that we're safe. We're not going to be changing anything in Canada. But they did also mention there would be tools, technology, as Tass is mentioning, that will be coming to Canada and the Century 21 brand. So I think that's great news.
Yep.
I think if you look at Atria and Leading Edge or ALERES in general, we're just a smaller version, super small version of a merger.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's what we've been saying in the last two podcasts is companies either have to be a very boutique brokerages or a bigger organization in our industry where it's heading to, right? I think if you look back at Leading Edge and Atria, I always look at the two companies were a mid-sized brokerage, right? You had the Juggernauts brokerage with 1,000 plus 2,000 agents, but I think that's happening in our industry, not only in Toronto, in Canada, but also in the U.S. as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also think with this merger, Compass has always been a corporately owned store, so they don't franchise. And obviously with the acquisition of Anywhere, Coldwell Banker has some corporate stores, but Century 21 is all franchised. Most of the Coldwell Bankers are, ERAs are. So I think that even in the States, you're going to see some transition down there. But certainly, as you were saying, Stephen, Gary Charwood started Century 21 Canada 50 years ago. He was one of the pioneers to bring franchising to Canada for real estate, and it's just extremely unlikely. They've made assurances, but it's also extremely unlikely that it would ever get to the franchise part of the operation because that's a really different scenario. So I think the other thing that is good to acknowledge is that we constantly talk about Canadian and buy Canadian and Canadian corporations. And even though Century 21 brand originated in the US, we have been an independently run organization in Canada and Canadian owned. The Charwoods are Canadian entrepreneurs. They own Uniglobe Travel, What else do they own?
Real Property Management.
Real Property Management, Centum Financial. So they own a number of Canadian brands, and they are absolutely a Canadian company.
Yep.
The other thing I think that we talked about down there is, I guess, the stats or the award stats were released when we were down there. So tell us how we fared, Stephen.
Yeah, so as we mentioned earlier, we're invited to chairmans in Mexico for the top 30 brokerages in Canada. And I think for Leading Edge in Atria, we kind of had to guess where we were standing in the Canadian rankings. So we're very proud. It was announced there last week that Century 21 Atria as an entire firm, we're the number 2 firm in the country by productions. And Century 21 Leading Edge for 15 years in a row. Congratulations, partners. 15 years in a row, we are the number 1 firm in the entire country. So now ALERES combined, we took home top 1 and top 2 spots.
Yep.
And last night, we actually got a call from Martin Charwood and gave us the global standings. As you know, Century 21, it's in 79 countries with over 11,000 offices. And Atria, the single office in Richmond Hill, is actually, once again, for the second year in a row, we're the number 1 office in the world. So it's an amazing accomplishment for our team here, right?
Yeah, huge accomplishment.
It's a huge accomplishment, right? Especially in today's difficult market. I think that's huge. And our agents are seeing the changes, what we're trying to help them to adapt to today's market. I think that's our numbers actually is really thanking to our agents, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And speaking of that, we actually had a big celebration a couple of nights ago where we were coming back from Mexico, and all the lovely weather in Toronto was making it a little bit difficult. We thought that it was going to go without the 3 of us there, but fortunately we did get back, and we were able to celebrate with I think about 85 of our top agents, and it was well received and a lot of fun. So that was great. So the other thing that I'd like to just sort of talk about a little bit is, the idea of people, I guess, being optimists about the real estate market. And when we look at, a lot of people in the real estate business, when they're asking how is the market, what's going to happen, what's going to come of 2026, and we're absolutely optimistic as well. But I think that we have to take that optimism and look at that alone is not enough. Yep. You actually have to have some substance and a system in order to, in order to break through, in order to thrive in those challenging markets. Yep. So Tas, talk to us a little bit about, the systems that we have with ALERES. Yep. That can help agents to succeed in this market.
Yep. Great point, Paul. And I think that, agents that are waiting, quote unquote, for the market to improve, that's not a system, guys, right? That's far from a system. You have to work, and you have to be, to some degree, back to the basics, because I think when the market is super high, the truth is it's easy to sell houses, right? Or easier to sell houses. It's easier to get clients. But when the market isn't as busy, I think that you have to, really lean into what is it that you're doing to prospect, to get clients, right? We've had a lead gen department within our company that helps agents generate leads. Well, the department generates leads, for one, but it also helps teach agents to have the systems in place to communicate with their clients and to communicate with leads properly. Because the biggest challenge, I think, is when you talk to realtors, they believe that, these leads are all a waste of time, right? And the truth is, it's not that they're a waste of time. The truth is, it takes time to nurture them. And of course, a lot of times realtors are type A personalities. They want to do everything today, immediately. And that's just not the way it is, right? You need to have a lead go into a system so that you can consistently communicate with them. And we do that various ways, by text message, by email, by phone calls. But the point is, our system is prompting the realtors to do all of that. So it's so easy to just, forget, oh yeah, I'm going to call Joe Smith. He told me to call him in 3 weeks. And then 3 weeks passes and you forget to call Joe Smith, right? So if you have it in a system and all of a sudden it's either automatically emailing Joe Smith or prompting you to contact Joe Smith, that's what nurtures these leads into actual business. So I think every realtor needs to have this, right? And there's plenty of systems out there to utilize. I think what we've done is put the best of the best all together and said, hey, here this is all set up for you. You just need to plug in and start utilizing it, right? And I think all of that will turn to business, right? Maybe not all of it, but your likelihood of getting business is just goes through the roof compared to not having a system, right? A little note on your desk, in your pocket to call Joe Smith, it never works. So I think that's, I would say that's the one thing that we have that every realtor would benefit from. And again, it's going back to those basics, basics of real estate. Communicate with people. It's not just going to fall in your lap. So that's something that I would say everybody should be utilizing.
How about yourself, Stephen? You obviously have a bunch of Atria agents that have now been exposed to that program and that system. What is your take on things?
I think agents always want leads, and it's been difficult the last few years to find leads, and now the Atria agent's been on the lead gen platform for, say, it's about 7 months since the merger, and obviously it's not suitable for every single person. I think lead gen online, you have to be a person that's willing to follow a system. You have to follow A to Z, what you need to do. Don't be shy of texting, calling, sending an email, following all the systems. It's not for everybody. I think Tasis mentioned it correctly, right? Everybody wants the business right away and not wait for 6 months. I think one thing we've learned all these years in lead gen is it takes about 15 months to nurture a lead, to even maybe get that first meeting or first introduction face-to-face. I think what Atria agents are seeing, that's a big benefit right now since the merger, right? At Atria, we tried it about 6-7 years ago. We had somewhat success, but now it's a totally different new level of tools and systems that are available to use. What we also did at ALERES now, we launched a lead gen for new homes, for our new home division, right? So now we have from Leading Edge and Atria, I think we have about 8 or 9 agents on this platform. Their main focus is to help first-time home buyers. When we say pre-construction, people always has a perspective, it's only for investment, right? But no, right now, I think if you look at pre-construction, that you buy stuff that's ready to close in the next 6 months, it's actually very good time to buy for first-time buyers, right? For those tenants that's looking into get into the market. So our division here is now using the lead gen program, the access we have in pre-construction, and the deals that we negotiate with different developers to try to put the first-time home buyers into home ownership, right? This program started about 3 weeks ago, first week of January or so, and it's been going really well, right? So I think now we're seeing the leading edge agent are saying, oh, that's the benefit of using also in the department of the new home division. So since the merger, we combined 2 departments together and tried to create more sales for our agents. I think that's important in today's market for us.
For sure. So the other interesting thing is that when we started this department, we called it the lead gen department, and I like to refer to it as the database management department. And why I like to do that is you're absolutely right, Stephen. There is a lot of agents that say, hey, I don't want the company to generate leads and get leads from the company, online leads, but everybody, 100% of the agents that we have need to manage their database. Yes. And I think that is a little bit of a pivot as to where we're going to go now, where we've got a lot of our top producing agents that, Grand Centurion producers that have big teams, that they have a challenge to manage their own database. Okay. So this is their center of influence database, or if they've got a team, they're getting ad calls, sign calls, leads from open houses, And these are usually leads that are more ready to transact than people that are looking online, but they also need a system to manage those leads. So I think that that's sort of where we're concentrating a little bit now as well, to say, hey, all of these tools, all of these systems, all of this AI that we're using to manage online leads that we generate can also manage any leads that you have, can also manage your database. And I think that, you know, a lot of times when the market changes, people hide. They figure they'll wait till it comes back. And the reality is that you need to really have a system to work all of your business. Yep. So I think that that's going to be an evolution as to where we switch that to and offer that as well. Because the idea is that if an agent has 2,000 people in their database, then this can be looked after through this database management department. If they have 1,000 leads that they've generated from their farm area, from any source, yeah. It takes a team to really do real estate now. And this is almost a team for the individual agents, and it also works as a team, for the top producing agents that have a bunch of team members that maybe they need assistance managing. And then the other thing that is super important is accountability. And I think that is the difference between the people that are successful in this business and the people that are not, right? Yep. People spin their wheels, do things, have some success, and then go on what I call the Australian walkabout, where they disappear for a few months and spend the money that they made when they had that, great sort of, stint in real estate. Now the deal's all closed. And what the top producers know is that it is always about continuously generating the next business, the next month business. And, as you said, online leads may take, 6 to 24 months. But open houses and these type of things, these are quicker to transact, but you need to nurture them. Right.
And I think, Paul, just to add to that, and I know you guys, I'm sure, have heard the stat as well. When we talk about data management, I love that comment, because statistically, and I don't know the recent number, but it probably hasn't changed a lot, and you guys can correct me if I'm off on this number, but I don't think I'm off by a lot. When NAR surveys people that have transacted with a realtor, and I believe the number is something like 85%. Would reuse that realtor because they were happy with the results, okay? And the reality of it is, I think it's only about 40 to 50% actually reused the realtor. And when asked why, it's because they just lost communication with that realtor. So the public is telling you, we love you. You're a fantastic realtor. Of course I would use you again. And 5 years later, when they're ready to move, they don't contact you because you failed. And that's the bottom line. It's not their job, right? It's our job as realtors. You failed to keep communication with that person. So you are leaving all kinds of business on the table, right? And that's just not acceptable, right? And that's why, I love the term data management, because that's not new leads, that's existing business. Just because you did business for someone, that's going to be a wealth of new business for you if you actually maintain communication, right? And if you don't, then bad on you, right? So,
yeah, I think agents are sometimes, it's not only because they forget to contact a client, they're also afraid to contact a client, right? So if you look at the market that's changed in the last few years, right? A client sold their home in a very good market, bought a home in the very high end of the market, and now price changed. But they're scared about calling the client saying, happy birthday, happy new year. How's the home in the last 2 years? Let's discuss about the market. A lot of people are concerned. There's been job securities, people are having trouble with that. And then now if you don't even approach them to talk to them about their home, if they need to sell, would they talk to you? I hear this almost every day. No, I don't want to call those clients that bought 2 years ago because I think they paid too much. They might be unhappy with my services. Or no, you know what, I sold them a condo last week, and then we realized the rental rate dropped again. I don't want to call them to do a follow-up. How's their first week of home ownership? But I think agents you need to be out there talking, right? We can't control the economy, but we can control how we conduct our business and educate our client and work together in today's
We have to be their consultants.
We have to be there.
Yeah, we have to be their consultants. I agree with you, Stephen. Whether it's good news or bad news, you need to maintain that communication. Your stockbroker doesn't ignore you because the stock market's down.
Exactly.
Right?
Like if you look at the pre-construction world, right? Obviously, pre-construction world came down a lot in pricing. There's a lot of condos that's been closing in the last year, and appraisal value. There's no sugarcoating. The appraisal value, it's a lot lower when they purchase.
Yep.
We've been encouraging our agents, you need to reach out to those clients, help them navigate, help them find ways to get a mortgage.
Yep.
And close a transaction. Make sure they understand it's not just walking away from a deal and losing my deposit. That simple. They need to understand. They need to talk to our lawyers. They need to talk to an accountant. But I think agents are saying, no, I don't want to give them a call.
Yeah.
They might be yelling at me. They might be unhappy. But I'm like, yes, they're probably that 10% are very, very mad at you. But there's also the 80, 90%, they're relying on you to give them advice.
Yep.
How can I navigate? How can I resolve this? So pick up the phone and call people.
Yeah,
right?
Agreed.
You know, and that reminds me of an agent that we had that just recently retired, Andy Ryan. Mm-hmm. So Andy Ryan was an agent with us for 25 years, and he was a guy that worked in the Bluffs and was owned a farm area. So he had a massively large percentage of listings in his farm area, and he had, at the time when it was probably about a 40 days on market, he had an average days on market of 14. And we had him, I was doing training for the brokerage, and this is probably 15 years ago. And, I have a number of people come in when I'm doing the training, and, they know I'm the broker of record. I'm not out there selling, and, but I've got a few people coming in. So then we announced that we're going to have Andy Ryan come in and tell us how he gets listings, right? So then we have the room that we've got the people in, and they're going up the staircase on the outside, and they're outside of the room, and everybody's there to listen. And I think that what Andy said is what you were saying, Stephen, is that realtors are afraid not to tell the truth, but to tell the bad news, to tell it how it is. And what Andy came in and did, and this was 15 years ago when the market was a good market, where he came in and basically said, what I do different is I tell them how it is. And when he listed a property, he had average of 14 days on the market. And when you look at the majority of realtors, the majority of listings that you looked at when the market took, let's say, 50 days to sell something, most agents were reviewing the listing or reviewing price every 30 days. So you'd see a 90-day listing and they'd change the price at the 30-day mark, at the 60-day mark. And Andy came in and presented to this group, and he said that when I talk to a client and they come up with a price that they want to list at, I try to get them as close to what I think market value is. But then what I do is I have an update meeting with those clients every 5 days. People are looking around the room every 5 days, right? Well, that's ridiculous. But let's face it, guys, if you put a listing out in the market and it is well priced, it is going to get activity right away, right? There's lots of these times where we've had, scheduled dates for offers and stuff as the market gets better. But the idea is that 5 days is enough for the market to tell you what it thinks of your listing and your price. And he would get together with those clients every 5 days. And as a result, usually by the second appointment, after 10 days, it was priced right and it sold. And he had an average of 14 days on the market. But his secret sauce is just basically, I'm honest. I'm telling the truth. I tell it how it is. I also respect the people, right? Because their expectations could be different. And hey, I don't know for sure that somebody's not going to do that. So that's what you want to do. Let's try that. But here's what the numbers are. Here's the truth of the matter. And we'll try what you want. And if it doesn't work, then we'll make some adjustments. And adjustments can be up or down, but it's adjustments.
I think that's so applicable right now, Paul, because the biggest challenge that I see is for people that purchased in the peak market, let's say 2 years ago or 3 years ago, that want or need to sell today, right? The challenge is that the realtors are almost fearful, like Stephen was saying, to tell them the truth, right? So the truth is you paid X and it's worth Y, right? And I think that the smart realtors are, first of all, finding out what the motivation is, right? So what is your motivation to sell the house? And from there, they're being honest and telling them that, look, this is the reality. And we've seen this over and over again. We had one of our realtors just recently, listing was listed with 2 other realtors close to what they purchased it at in a peak market, and it was not selling, right? So when our realtor met with the client told them straight out, I'm relocating, I have to sell the property. And she just said, I was honest with her, and I said, look, you're gonna lose X amount of dollars because this is what the market is today. And she listed it at market value. It was condo, and we know condos are slow. And she sold it for actually $5,000 over ask in today's market. Why? Because it was priced right, and she got the activity. And she sold it, I think, within 4 days, right? So the reality of it is honesty always wins, right? And as you said, Paul, I think you have to be respectful. It's not the easiest conversation to have. And you and I probably remember, or I'm sure you remember, I started selling in 1990, okay? So in 1990, the prices had just peaked. So for me, it was very common to go to a listing appointment and saying, oh, okay, your house is worth $180,000, and the response would be, but we paid $225 for it and we owe $200. And then we had to come up with solutions, right? So, it's there's always solutions. So be honest, that's all.
For sure.
Yeah, I think also agents that came into the market when it was hot, I thought they're more a waiter. What do I mean by that? They took an order. They took an order, I want to buy this house. They took an order, I want to just go this showing. The client does all the research for them. They go on realtor.ca, our website. These are listings, Tasis, I want to see. Book it for tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Let's put in the offer. And they don't do CMAs because the market was so hot. Everybody's like, you know what? Let's put in down the highest price. What I've been seeing, those same agents in today's difficult market is they're more or less still doing the same thing because they don't know what price to properly list a home. Oh, this is the average price that's listed. Let's list at that price. Or the client will go, hey, I saw on a website, these are the sold prices, sold data. Let's list it at this home. But the agents are not doing their complete CMA and research on the home, are adjusting the price based on the market. Week by week, we're seeing changes. Right? Yesterday, we had an announcement saying interest rates, it's holding. What does it mean? I think it's an opportunity for people to actually, you know what, pick up the phone call their client, hey, this is what it means, this is what my perspective I think it will look like in the next few months. Have that talk. Don't be afraid of telling people to adjust their price, reduce their price, rather than the client telling you this is a price I want to list at, right? I think that makes a big difference of an agent that's average and versus a top agent. The top agent's not shy of talking about reality. You know what? I know you want $1 million, but reality is your house is only worth $900,000. And they're not afraid of losing that listing, right? As a newer agent or inexperienced agents, they're always afraid of, you know what? No. I don't want to say no to the client because I will lose that listing. But I always go to our agents like, have you thought about getting a listing that's overpriced and the client price is like not in line with what you've done your research? It actually costs you a lot of money. People say listing a home is free. It's not free, guys. It costs you a few $1,000s to list a home. Your for sale sign installation, right? Your time of doing open house, your CMA time, home staging, marketing, right? Printing basic flyers, distributing in the area will probably cost you at least over $1,000. Doing beautiful videos for your social media will probably cost you $1,000. If you decide to pay partial of the staging, that will cost you a few $1,000s. So agents, stop signing all the listings, but let's talk about the real price, then decide a strategy. When I say strategy, it's like, what is the listing price? Do we price it high? Do we price it low? What is the market value of the price? I always believe there's two prices. A listing price is a strategy, and then your market price is what's an actual sellable price. You got to discuss about that, but I think agents are just, they're not communicating.
You know what I always say, Stephen? It's useless taking something that, I won't say an overpriced listing, because if the understanding is that you're going to adjust the price, that's fine. But if you're going to take a listing that you know is not going to sell, it's actually harming you, because what the client remembers is that you didn't sell my house. They don't think, oh, okay, I listed my house with Tasis and he tried to get more than what it's worth. So you take an overpriced listing, it doesn't sell, and if they're motivated to sell, they're going to end up listing it with somebody else, and all they're going to remember is this realtor didn't sell my house. So that you're harming yourself, right?
And when you look at what you guys are talking about, how the job of the realtor has changed, and that they're not, the newer people in the business are not used to a different type of market. I think this is where the ALERES systems come into play, because with lead gen, with database management, agents have this misconception that we'll find the people that are most likely to transact. That's what the job of that team is. The ISAs, inside sales agents, and the AI is to find most likely to transact. And what the agents think is that they're going to give them a name and they're just going to go out and sell them a house. And what you're saying, Stephen, is that that's just brought them to the stage where they now need to develop a relationship with the agent. They have to have that expertise where the agent understands, market price and offering price, and that these are different things. So I think that that's what we're seeing in that department, is that we need to help the agents to understand that their job has changed. It's a different job, and we need to help them to work through that process so that we can have more success, right? And the agents that don't work through that process, those are the ones that are leaving the business. And we do have a lot more agents that have left the business in the last 2 years than we've had probably in the last 10 years before that. So I think that's...
I think it's an exciting time, Paul. I think that if you have buyers, especially, I believe, and as a realtor, you need to believe this, because if you don't believe it, then it's like you're driving a Volkswagen, but you're trying to sell a Mercedes. Well, that doesn't really work that way, right? So I believe it's a fantastic time to buy real estate. So if that's your belief, then you'll be excited to help people buy real estate, right? And I think part of that is that attitude, right? So. Yeah, I think we need to just get out there, people, and find those clients.
Well, actually, ALERES agents, you just heard it from Tasis. He said it's a great time to buy a house, he believes. 1,400 agents should call Tasis and get him to sign a BRA with you.
Yes, that's right.
There you go, finding business right here.
And funny thing is, I have signed BRAs, Stephen, with our realtors, where they say, hey, I have this property, and it wasn't on the market yet, and would you be interested? I kind of laughed, because when that particular realtor asked me to sign the BRA, I just said, well, I own the brokerage, right? So.
No, you said
but I did sign it, right?
That's a good trained agent, eh?
Yeah, no, it was.
That's like my own house. I was selling my own property back in December, and Sabrina was listing my property. She's like, I sent you a FinTracker link. Can you do it? I'm like, I don't have a suspicious transaction on my own house. I'm the owner. I'm the compliance officer. She's like, nope, our file says you need to do it.
That's right.
Here's the funny part. I've been training how to use FinTracker. I just trained it yesterday too. I'm like, actually, I don't know how to use it.
That's right.
You just have to know who does, so that you can direct them to them, right? right? Absolutely. So the other thing that's interesting is, when we look at the real estate market, and, I think the majority of our audience for our podcast is realtors, right?
Yep.
And we look at the market, and people talk about the market being up or down, but there's different parts of the market, right?
Yeah.
So we can look at what is the volume of transactions, right? And people look at 2026. Is it going to be a good market? And there's two factors. One is the volume of transactions, and then the price. And my belief is that the price, based on a lot of mortgage renewals coming up, and the fact that inventory continues to remain high, that the number or that the price of real estate is gonna remain steady, right? It's not gonna be a big swing. I also think that the Toronto market and the Greater Toronto area has an extremely resilient on the pricing, right? So that's not an issue. But where I do see a huge increase in the market is going to be in the volume of transactions, because we are moving now from a stage where people that wanted to sell, they're out there, they're trying to sell. If the price is not what they want, maybe they're not making that choice. But as mortgage renewals are coming up, even though rates have softened from where they were, for a lot of people, it's still going to be a higher rate. For a lot of people, it's going to be a downsizing.
Yep.
So I think that with the amount of mortgages that are coming due, there's going to be a lot more people in the market to sell. So I believe that, we had 68,000, I think was approximately the number of transactions in 2025. So I think that number is going to go up. So from a real estate agent standpoint, there's going to be more business to do, I believe.
Yep.
Even though prices are going to remain steady, and some people predict them up 2% in this market and that market because real estate is segmented. But overall, there's going to be an increase in the volume of transactions based on those fundamentals.
And that's what realtors want, number of transactions, right? A lot of times I think the public might think that, oh, the price is up, so the realtors are happy because they're making a bigger percentage on that house. I think that 100% a realtor wants to get a transaction done. Whether that transaction is done at $1.2 million or $1.3 million, it's really of no real consequence to the realtor, right? So number of transactions going up is what I think is crucial for our industry, for realtors. And I agree with you, Paul. I think that the market is ripe for more transactions, and the inventory is good for having more transactions because you have more choice. So I do see the same thing.
So I think also when you look at what you were talking about, Stephen, where people are afraid to call people, right? So if we look at that changing market, we look at people that bought a house and now their mortgage is coming due, and those agents are not talking to them. Those are people that may not want to transact, may have to transact,
Yep.
right? So it's imperative that we are out there talking to those people. Right?
Yep.
And I think that we've got the systems in play to help all of our agents manage their databases, manage their past clients, and to really teach them the 2026 way to sell real estate, because it's different than the 2025, and it's certainly different than the 1984 when I started. Right?
and it's just to be clear, it's not just our lead gen department that you need to be part of, right? We also do monthly coaching to help you do all of this, right? So it's not just, I need to just do this one thing. There's different training that we put on, and I would prompt every realtor. Re-engage in training, even if you're an experienced realtor. There's new programs that we have and stuff that we're teaching and that is out there in the industry that you need to sometimes get re-engaged and refocused, right? And our monthly coaching class is part of that, and I think that's a huge tool to add that accountability, right? Statistically, it's, I guess, been proven that post-COVID, the fact that so many people pulled away from being in the office, being around people, that's had a negative effect, I think, on realtors, right? You need to come into the office, be around other realtors, get the synergy, go to training, and I think that anybody that's a seasoned realtor will tell you, and I'm sure the three of us would agree, I've learned just as much from other realtors, being around other realtors and asking questions. Oh, how did you do that? Oh, this was a hurdle. How did you overcome it, right? You learn just as much from that. So if you're just in your own little bubble, not ever talking to people, you're not going to be very practiced when you actually have to talk to clients, right? So yeah, get out there, guys. I think that's important.
Yeah, for sure. And Stephen, I think that when we look at, Tas talking about training, training is good, but we need to have a system to provide the training.
Yep.
A system so that the managers can hold the agents accountable. So that's something that we obviously inherited by this merger, where you had an amazing system going, and then we've all worked together to make it a super amazing system. So tell us about that.
So we have a system called ALERES Campus. It's online. We probably have about 200 videos online created by our management team and support staff to help our agents to answer all type of questions. Questions as simple as a new agent coming in asking us how to do a waiver, or what's a waiver versus a notice fulfillment. We actually have managers who would create small little videos for an agents to watch at night. But one of the amazing sessions or course that we've created, which we're launching on the first week of February, it's a 16-week course called ALERES Career Growth. It walks an agent from the day one they get their license all the way to doing their first transaction. Things such as paperwork, such as using our systems, using the tools, using MLS systems, but of course, how to prospect. There's about 4 sessions in here. It's all about prospecting. I think when you look at prospecting, there's different ways of prospecting. When you talk to our coach, Alicia, she will say all these ways of coaching you, of prospecting, what works, what doesn't work, and how should you do it more efficiently. This is all done through our 16-week course. And throughout every few courses, you will have one of our managers sit down with you, hold you accountable, go more in depth on each of the topic, and basically to help you navigate your first few months in real estate, right? This entire system actually doesn't stop after these 16 courses. Our plan is actually written out, is to help you over the next 12 months. I think a lot of times a new agent coming in, they do leave the industry after 1 year, right? Because 1 year later, they have to renew their license, pay for our fees again. And then a lot of people will say, you know what, this is challenging. This is a difficult career. But sometimes I say, yes, it is a challenging career, but is it because you joined the wrong brokerage that never helped you start your career? It's lonely. I remember when I got my license, I was 19. My dad's friend owned this brokerage. I think they had about 12 agents or so. First day of work, I was 18, put on a tie, or 19 maybe, put on a tie, go to work. Sat there, right? And they're like, oh, we have cold calling nights. I'm like, okay. They gave us a paper with phone numbers, yellow pages, right? It's not yellow pages, but they print it out. I'm looking at this, so what do I do? They're pick up the phone and call. Okay, but what do I say? But throughout years of working at that company, there was zero training, right? Was that training? I don't know. Maybe he just threw me in the lion's den right away. Here's a bunch of numbers and call. I had no idea what I was calling for. But I think that's also why a lot of agents fail in our industry in the first year. They come and go. They cost them a few $1,000s to get into the business. They join the wrong brokerage because there's nothing helping them to start their career. So sometimes when we see an agent switching brokerage to ALERES a year later from a competitor, so we ask them, so what have you learned? It shocks me that nothing. They're like, I don't know. They never taught me anything. So I think a lot of agents, when you start searching for brokerages, ask the right questions. Look at their systems, right? We're not afraid to show you our entire calendar of training, right? I think you pull up, go to our website. Actually, you guys could go to our website. Anytime, you'll probably see 20 plus trainings on our calendar on a monthly basis, where we have this ALERES campus it helps you that, right? I know agents like to watch videos, watch podcasts on their fingertips. You go watch it online, watch it on your phone if you miss a session. But we also believe what Tasis was saying, people should be coming into the office and talking to your coworkers. So we have about a third of our trainings are in person. And the other day at our Centurion dinner, I was talking to a few of our agents on our table that's been with Atria for about 10 plus years. And one of the things that these guys were saying is like, you know what, Stephen, since COVID, I go into the office now, no one's there. He's like, back then, if I don't know anything, I just sit in the bullpen, sit in the open areas. You hear other top agents talking to each other. I just pick up on little tips and tricks like that. But now, even if people come to the office, they'll go hide into a meeting room and close their door. So you're not learning from anybody, right? I think people need to start getting into the environment of going to the office, learn from your fellow coworkers. I think people say, oh, they're my competitors. I think small percentage agent will say, yes, you're my competitor, but there's so much business in Toronto. You need to work together, right? We're such a multicultural company. There are people that say, you know what, I need an Italian agent to help me. I need an agent that speaks Farsi to help me, right? So come into the office, come to our training, like our, you guys mentioned our coach, right? That's always on the first Tuesday of every month. It's called Focus Coaching. I don't know if I shared the story or not last month, but so I went in January, first week I went. I was late, okay, I admit I was late. So I sat in the back corner by myself. Well, I sat in the back corner, and there's 3 agents beside me. They kept on talking for 2 hours. Like our training is 3 hours. And I'm just eavesdropping, listening on these ladies. I'm like, wow, as an owner sitting beside them, I'm like, they're amazed of the training we provide. One came from Royal Page, one came from EXP. I'm not sure, can I say their names out there on camera, but I said it. And the third one's a new agent. So these 2 ladies were telling the third agent that's new that how amazing our training was because they had nothing previously for the past year at their company. And they were overpromised everything. And then at the end of the day, our Alicia introduced me, and it was funny. The 3 of them, oh my goodness, you're one of the owners. I'm like, no,
we were
ladies,
gossiping in front of you.
I'm like, luckily you didn't say anything bad. I'm like, no. I said I was really amazed with what you guys were saying. That means our team is doing a great job for a new agent. Sometimes we even joke at the office, like, agents working at Atria or Leading Edge, they don't know how good we are until they leave to another company and they come back. Yeah. We've seen a ton of agents will leave the brokerage and come back. I'll share the story. It has nothing related to what we're discussing, but the fastest agent that left Atria and came back, you want to make a guess how long?
2 weeks.
No. The resignation was in the morning. Say, she told me the night before, she's sending me the resignation. She sent it to me around 9 a.m. in the morning. I got on a plane to fly to Mexico. By the time I got off the plane, I had like 30 text messages from her. Stephen, why are you not returning my call? Why are you mad at me? And I start reading. Oh, she wants to come back. So this is a few hours, right? So I called her, obviously. I'm like, no, I was on a plane. My phone was off. I'm like, what made you decide? You decided last night. She's been with Atria for 10 years. You wanted to go to another company. She said, I went there after I signed the paperwork. Everybody thinks they're saying is the tone changed already. Seems like I signed it, that's it, here. You're with the company. She's like, no, even when I told you I was leaving the company, you talked to me as if you're still my broker of record and encouraged me to go learn. She came back and she's still with us. That was the fastest one ever left the company and came back right away.
That's amazing.
Right? So sometimes I say, like, our training, people don't realize how beneficial it is until they compare to another brokerage. I challenge people to compare.
You know, that being said, we need to reach out to our existing agents that don't participate and, you know, listening to that story, give them motivation to get involved. You know, the other thing that that is interesting with training is that often agents want to know what's happening at the other brokerages, but they don't pay attention to what's happening at their brokerage, right? It's about telling the story. And this is, you know, in the industry, this is when you look at new brands or new companies that supposedly are different. They just have a different name, or they've hung their hat on a particular style, But yeah, we have that everywhere. Like there is variations of those companies everywhere and within brokerages. And what happens is that when a company is new, they do a way better job telling their story, right? So Century 21, 50 years, right? And we think that everybody knows who Century 21 is. We don't need to tell that story. But yeah, we absolutely do. We have to keep refreshing that story. We had a rebranding with Century 21 about 8 years ago, I think it was.
Yep.
And I had people from every other brand telling me how amazing the rebranding was. But the idea is that we need to keep talking about that. We need to talk to people like they don't know anything about it, right?
Yep.
I mean, when I switched, because originally I started the brokerage leading edge, and I was Sutton Group leading edge. So I started as a Sutton Group brokerage. And then my good friend, Brian Rushton, who's now passed away, he contacted me and started telling me about Century 21. I was already, 15 years in the business. I had no knowledge of Century 21. I was an agent and now 5 years as a broker, and I looked at them as that's a place for new people that does good training. That's all I knew. I had no knowledge of them. And what I soon realized was that they had a better value proposition than the existing brand that I was with. And that was a big part of switching. So you're looking at the brand that has the value proposition, and then the company that you're working for, and what value proposition do they have. And I think that with the ALERES systems and with this new ownership group, we have, to me, the best kept secret in the world. That's why we're on this podcast, to let you know that it's not a secret, guys. Anybody that wants to have detailed information, contact Paul Barron.
Yep.
Paul.Barron at century21.ca, Stephen.Chow at century21.ca, and Tasis.G at century21.ca. So, or any of our managers. So we are available, and I'm joking but serious. But yeah, if you want more information, contact us. That's why we're doing this, because it is a tough business, and you need to have a team helping you.
And I think a lot of people, Paul, don't realize that not every brokerage provides the same thing, even if they're the same brand, right? A big part of why Century 21 Leading Edge and Century 21 Atria combined was because we were very similar in terms of we wanted to provide all of this fantastic stuff to our realtors and realized that together we could do an even better job of that. But I think that there are other brokerages that are not doing the same thing. Well, I know they're not doing the same thing. And the reality of it is, it's probably a bit of a challenge in our industry is that you go out, you get licensed, and I think coming into it, you might believe that, okay, that's all I need to sell real estate. But the reality of it is you get licensed and they teach you the rules and regulations and clauses, but they don't really teach you how to sell real estate. And there's nothing mandated to brokerages that says, oh, you hired somebody as a new agent, this is what you have to put them through. So what that means is some brokerages do a lot, like we do. Some brokerages do zero, right? And if you go to one of the zero brokerages, it's a challenge, right? And in this day and age, similar to you, Stephen, when I started in the business, my first day, kind of a similar story. You know, I was all gung-ho and I had a suit on and it was a bullpen, right? So they said, okay, this is, you can sit anywhere here, right? Except for these 3 seats because, the big shots of the office. So sat down, made a few calls, looked around, probably stayed for a couple of hours. And then I thought, okay, I'm not doing anything, right? So when I got up to leave, I said to the broker at the time, because I thought this is like a regular job. I said, oh, I'm going now, but I'll be back tomorrow morning at 9, right? And he just kind of looked at me and said, yeah, you can just come and go as you please. You don't have to tell me anything. So it was a realization for me that, guess what? You got to figure this out, right? And I think back then, especially, there weren't all of these training and systems to figure it out. So I still went into the office every day and just kind of looked at what everyone was doing. Yep. And I would ask like a million questions. What are you doing? Oh, I'm phoning people. From where? Bauer's book. We had these giant books. They were like this thick, right, with phone numbers. So all of that we can teach you, right? So yeah, I think that we're not the same as every brokerage. I'm proud of what we do and what we provide. So everybody should be taking advantage of it. That's all.
Yeah, no, like last week, I met with a Korean agent. We do our recruiting just like agents do their prospecting. I reached out to this lady that I've never met before and asked her, you know what, would you like to come in and see the difference of our brokerages versus yours? And she's like, I have no intentions of moving. I'm like, there's no harm, no pressure. Come in, take a look. Interestingly, after she came in, she's like, I did not know brokerages have stuff like this. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, I didn't know there was actually lead gen programs. I didn't know there's different technologies. I was just taught, been with my brokerage for 10 years. I was just taught all the tools we have is just MOS. And that's the way to find business. And I'm on my own. So now she's actually been calling me a few times. She's like, you know what, Stephen, I really have to, I keep on thinking about your brokerage, that there's so much system that can help me move my career to the next level. That's a perfect example that brokerages are not built the same. Right? I think one of the things I did say to her was, I actually don't understand why agents work in a brokerage where the owners sells real estate. Right? Don't get me wrong. I'm sure we sell our own homes or we sell our parents' homes. But if a broker owner is actively farming, prospecting, I don't really understand why agents will want to work for that brokerage. So you're working for I'm not talking about teams, right? You have small little teams, which is that you should be selling brokerage, but actual brokerages that's hiring, recruiting. Why would you want to work for a broker owner that's out there farming? His name or her name is all over billboards. When people sign a listing or when you go to a listing presentation, sometimes I always wonder, do they know who you are or which company you work for, or do they just recognize your boss's logo? And that really drives me insane. It's like, I just don't understand. If you're working for someone that's competing with you and they're not here to help you grow your business, they're actually having you to help them grow their business. I just don't understand that, right?
So if you're a manager at Leading Edge and listening to what Stephen said, yeah, get out there and let people know what's going on at Leading Edge, what the value proposition is, because they don't know what it is, right? And it's important to know.
So what else can we cover today, gentlemen?
Steve, do we have any questions from our
audience?
Loyal audience.
From an ownership level, what do agents misunderstand most about how brokerages operate?
I'll give you the honest response to that. I think that agents believe that the brokerage makes a lot more money than they actually do. I would say, yeah, that's actually a very realistic comment, because I think that a lot of realtors don't understand the cost involved with running a brokerage, right? And people all believe, I don't put any pressure on the brokerage, right? But that's not the point. The point is our brokerages are designed that to accommodate whenever someone needs something, right? So it's like you say, oh, okay, I just come into the office twice a year. Yeah, but guess what? The office has to be open and staffed and ready to help you and assist you whenever it is that you come in, right? So
I think another big misconception or thing that brokerages provide when they do things right is with regards to the compliance, right? And we look at the iPros of the world and these companies that had financial problems and then what's involved, right? So I think that we have systems for training for your real estate career, but we also have systems to deal with compliance. We don't make up the compliance. We also think it's unfair that we are the FinTrack police. We do.
Yeah.
I do, right?
Yeah.
I'm saying that. However, we take it very serious because that is something that has been assigned to the real estate industry, and it's assigned by regulations, so we follow them. And we make sure that we assist our agents so that they understand it. we also have the tools and systems in place to deal with that. So when you look at castle compliance, for example, I know I'm delving in a little too deep on this, but it's a great question that people don't realize. So castle compliance, we have telelisting, we buy from the CRTC all of the different exchanges, and we have the proper system in place that if you get into a problem with regards to cold calling, that we've got that stuff in place. And the majority of brokerages, they just never dealt with it. So I think that compliance and having your back is a super important role for a brokerage.
Which is true, right? I think our agents don't realize how important that is until something happens to them. Right? I think every agent thinks it's smooth sailing in real estate, but we know it's not true, right? Like the other day we had a chat with a very big Century 21 brokerage in GTA at Chairman Circle, and he was telling us that he bought this other brokerage, and the first deal from one of these agents from that company said, "What's FinTrack?" And this owner's like, "What do you mean, what's FinTrack? You guys never done FinTrack?" So apparently, 100 agent brokerage, they've never done FinTrack. They have no idea what's FinTrack. That's basically saying, "Hey, agent, every deal you're doing, you're probably gonna get a $30,000-$40,000 fine.
Yeah.
If FinTrack's not going to the door."
Yeah.
But that's compliance, right? Like I think myself, I'm the compliance officer. Tasis is a compliance officer. I think we probably combined spend over 10 hours a week on just looking at this stuff. Right?
Yep.
It's a lot of work, which agents don't realize.
It's all to keep the agents out of trouble.
Out of jail.
and to avoid fines, right? And there's fines of, ones that we know of, $150,000. I don't want any of my realtors to pay $150,000. Like that's insane, right? So we don't do it for fun. Anyways, long answer to your question,
We went
Steve.
down a wormhole there.
Give us an easy one. Give us a yes or no question.
What do you guys feel like are some of the most important questions people should be asking to dig deeper into brokerages, specifically when they're looking at making a change?
I think, let's go back to training. I think every time an agent goes to a interview, my guess most brokerages will say they have training, but I think you should take a deeper dive and challenge them. Do you really have training? Who's training it?
Yep.
What type of training you have, right? At ALERES, we have 11, 12 managers, many senior key staff. We have different department heads. Everybody does a training that they're good at. I think that's important. Like if you're asking me to train you on AI, I'm not the best person. But if you ask me to train you on pre-construction, training you on prospecting, I think I'm decent at it. I'm pretty good at it. But nowhere I'm anywhere as good as our coach. So I think when you're going back to your question, Steve, is when you go to a brokerage, when they say training, ask more questions.
Show me.
Who's doing the training? Is it outsourced? Show me the training. How many courses do you have? How is it done? I think they really need to know. When everybody's saying they have training, we're not built the same.
Yeah. I always stress the fact, Steve, that the number of staff that we have, by staff I mean managers, owners, managers, and the upper admin staff, right? And if you're talking to a broker and you say, "Oh yeah, don't worry, I'm going to do that. I'm going to give you this. I'm going to do that," and then the answer to the question is, "Who provides it?" "Oh, I do." There's only so many hours in the day, right? You can't train and prospect and do all of this stuff for somebody. So we have a lot of stuff in place.
Yeah, so I think that the majority or a good percentage of people that come into a brokerage, their opening line is, "What's the split? What do you charge?" Right? And I think that, if somebody said that to me, I'll say, curious as to why you started with that question. Are you looking for the most expensive or the least expensive place to work? And usually they'll say the least expensive. I said, well, I can save you a lot of time. I can tell you, here, I've got a spreadsheet that shows you what each company charges. And I can send you to the one, I won't mention it here, that charges the least. And I'll send that referral to them. Now, I would ask, if I were you, what is it that you get for what you pay? And this is the difference with what we do here with ALERES and the systems we provide and Atria and Leading Edge is the value proposition is so amazing, right? And that is the, I think the thing that people should be looking at. And then the other thing is that people like to sell the sizzle, right? Which is talking about things, but then don't deliver, right? And I've had a number of people that have gone to other brokerages. I don't have the 2-hour return that Chow has, where they call them 2 hours after leaving that they want to come back, but that they have hung in places for 3 months, 6 months, and realized that it was sizzle. There was no steak. There was nothing to eat, and then they come back. So I think that's super important, is to ask other people at the brokerage. I remember also one time somebody saying to me that they were trying to make a decision, and they said the other brokerage gave me a couple of people that I should talk to find out. I said, listen, I'll tell you what I would do. Phone anybody that works at Leading Edge and ask them. And I'll tell you up front, everybody is not involved with everything that we do, but yeah, call anybody. That I think is the best answer, not call these 3 people.
Yeah.
Right?
Is the iPro situation resolved? And if so, what was the resolution on that?
Obviously RICO has been through some serious shakeup, and originally they were only going to cover half of the losses on the commission recovery for agents. Certainly the consumers were all protected all the way through, and then government stepped in and they said no, that we're going to make sure that they're 100% covered on that. And there is limitations with the insurance. There is a maximum amount of commission coverage per transaction. And I think that's $25,000. So there would be those limitations. But yeah, I think that it is still an ongoing saga. We fortunately had very few transactions where they were the listing brokerage with our companies, and we filled out the paperwork and got those looked after right away, and our agents have been made whole. So yeah, but it's still an ongoing challenge.
What systems and resources do you find agents asking for that already exist? Basically things that maybe people don't quite understand that the brokerage offers.
I think the part of the, I would say, frustration that all 3 of us have, Steve, is that a good chunk of our realtors from both Leading Edge and Atria don't know what it is that we offer, right? I think we try very hard to communicate everything on every level. Like, we have newsletters that go out weekly, we have email blasts, we have text message blasts, we have live meetings, and yet we still sometimes have someone say, I'm going to change brokerages because these guys have this. And it's like, okay, but we've had that like forever. Have you ever looked at it, right? Have you ever engaged in it? So I would say there's a lot of tools and systems that are just lacking engagement, right? I think it's important that all of our realtors pay attention to what it is that we put out, because there's gold in them hills, right? There's great stuff, right? And sometimes they don't know that we have the great stuff.
Thank you very much, everybody. It was very enjoyable to chat with you gentlemen, as always, and look forward to next month.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.